Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. There's an unopened jar of salsa in my fridge with a longer shelf life than my wife's last promise. Yeah, that's how I'm starting this story because if I don't laugh at the absurdity of it all, I'll probably end up yelling at a wall again. It wasn't some explosive fight, no screaming match, no thrown plates. It was a Tuesday. She was trimming her split ends on the couch while watching a dating show. I had just walked in from work, still clutching the takeout I picked up for both of us. She didn't even look at me, just casually said, "Gordon used to surprise me with flowers, not noodles." I blinked. She kept snipping. With my ex, I actually felt alive, alive, alive. She dropped that line like she was commenting on the weather. And maybe it would have stung less if this was the first time she mentioned Gordon that week, but it was the third or fourth. I'd stopped counting. It was always Gordon was spontaneous or Gordon made the best playlists. Meanwhile, I'm just standing there holding a brown paper bag of cold lo mein, wondering what planet I married into. So I told her, as calmly as a man who's held it in too long can manage, then go be his problem again. She laughed, actually laughed, and said I was being sensitive. It's not like I'm leaving you for him. But by the time I woke up the next morning, half her closet was empty, her toothbrush gone, and a note on the fridge. Staying with Lisa for a bit. Don't make this dramatic. Lisa. Yeah, Lisa called me 2 hours later, completely confused. She hadn't seen her, didn't even know she was staying over. You see where this is going, right? My wife didn't go to Lisa's, she went to Gordon's. I know because she forgot to turn off her location sharing. Amateur move. I saw her little icon parked in a zip code that belonged to one person only. She told me she needed space. Gordon apparently had plenty of it. Now, here's where it gets weirder. 2 days later, after total silence, I get a flood of texts. Can we talk? I didn't mean it like that. Please, Max. And then, I made a mistake. Yeah, you think? She's been calling ever since. Morning, night, lunch break, once during a Zoom meeting with my boss. I had to pretend it was spam. But you know what? That first night she told me to go, I slept better than I had in months. Still, I wish that was the end of the story. It's not. It was just the spark. The first night she was gone, I stood in the hallway staring at the tiny indent on her side of the bed. It looked like a ghost had been sleeping there. Her perfume still clung to the pillow. I don't know why I sniffed it. Maybe I thought it would hurt less if I controlled the pain. But pain doesn't ask for permission. It just moves in and takes over everything.
I didn't cry. Not yet. I did something worse. I started blaming myself. Maybe I was too boring, too predictable. Maybe Gordon did make her feel alive and I just made her feel safe. And let's be honest, who wants safe when they could have spontaneous? I organized her meds by expiration date last month. Gordon probably took her to bars with sticky floors and bands that didn't even know how to tune their guitars. At 2:11 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was her. Are you up? Then, I can't sleep. And then, please don't shut me out. I didn't answer. I stared at the screen until it dimmed. Then I turned it face down and went to bed alone. By the third day, the silence in the house was louder than her voice ever was. I kept finding strands of her hair everywhere, on the couch, in the sink, twisted around the shower drain like a memory that wouldn't unclench its grip. I thought about shaving my head. I didn't, but the fact that I considered it scared me more than anything. Then came the envelope. It was hand-delivered. No postage, no return address. Inside was a photo. Her and Gordon sitting at a bar. He had his arm around her and she was laughing. Head tilted back, eyes closed. She looked alive. Right there in the picture, looking like she never once talked about joint taxes, meal prepping, or how much toothpaste cost. There was no note, just the photo. I don't know if she sent it to rub it in, or someone else did it to warn me. But that's when I broke. I called her. I know I shouldn't have, but I did. She didn't pick up. Sent a voicemail instead. Max, I'm sorry. It was a mistake. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Please don't hate me. I listened to it 5 times, then deleted it, then emptied the trash folder so I couldn't play it again at 3 a.m. when the loneliness hits the hardest. But guess what happened the next morning? She showed up at my door crying, makeup smudged, hoodie too big, the same one I bought her on our 2nd anniversary. I can't stay there. He hasn't changed. I should have closed the door. Should have walked away. But I didn't. I opened it wider. That was my second mistake. By the time she stood on my doorstep, she didn't look like the woman who'd smugly declared that Gordon made her feel alive. She looked like someone who hadn't slept in days. Her eyeliner was smudged, her hair was tied up in one of those lazy buns she used to do when she was sick. And she wore my old college hoodie, 2 sizes too big, with a hole under the sleeve. She clutched it like a life vest. I should have slammed the door, but I didn't. I stepped aside. She walked in like she owned the place, went straight to the kitchen, opened the fridge, stared at it like she had rights, and then said something I'll never forget. He's still the same. Nothing's changed. I watched her. I wanted to ask, did you sleep with him? But I already knew the answer. It was in the way she couldn't meet my eyes, the way her voice cracked when she asked if we could just talk. She sat down at the kitchen table like it was still her home. It was stupid. He drinks too much. He still calls his mom to bail him out. He spent half the time talking about crypto and the other half asking if I still had that tattoo on my hip.
I didn't want to hear it, but I let her talk. She said she realized how stable I was, how comforting that used to feel, how she missed my weird little routines, me organizing bills by color, making French toast every Sunday, humming off-key during morning showers. She started crying then, really crying, ugly, loud sobs into her hands. I didn't move. I just stood there, arms crossed, wondering how many times she had lied like this before, how many apologies were real, and how many were just her trying to reset the narrative. "Max, please," she said through tears. I was scared of getting older, of the routine. I thought maybe Gordon was what I needed to feel something again. But it was a mistake. He's still the same mess I left behind. I sat down across from her, not because I forgave her, but because I needed to see what regret looked like up close. And it was pathetic. Then she said it. "Can I come back?" That moment split my brain in half. One part of me screamed no, begged me to shut this chapter for once and for all. The other part, the stupid, soft, desperate for connection part, whispered, maybe we could fix it. Maybe people do make mistakes. I told her I needed time. She nodded like she expected that, said she'd stay at her sister's for a while. I didn't argue, but the second she left, I did something I never thought I would. I called Gordon. I found his number. It took 2 minutes of scrolling through our old shared phone plan bills. I called, and he answered like he was expecting a delivery. "Yeah, this is Max." Silence, then a laugh. "Oh, the husband." I ignored the urge to scream. "Did she stay with you?" He didn't hesitate. "For a couple nights. And she's still in love with you, man," he said, almost bored. I told her she was chasing ghosts. Then he hung up. No anger, no drama, just a clean break. But if I thought that conversation would bring closure, I was wrong. Because 2 nights later, I found something in our bedroom that changed everything. The thing I found wasn't hidden. That's what made it worse. It was in the top drawer of her nightstand, like she hadn't even bothered to pretend anymore. I was changing the sheets, hoping that cleaning something might clean out my thoughts too. But when I pulled open that drawer to grab an extra pillowcase, there it was, a small velvet pouch. Inside the pouch was a necklace. Not hers, not mine, definitely not for me. It was gold, with a tiny heart pendant that opened like a locket. I didn't even need to open it. I already knew. But I did. Of course I did. Inside the heart was a photo. Him. Gordon. His greasy smile in a grainy printout like a relic from a decade ago. Folded behind the photo was a tiny note, handwritten in that messy, chaotic scrawl I recognized instantly from old texts I'd once seen over her shoulder. You always knew where home was.
That sentence broke something in me. Not because of the words, but because of what it meant. While she was standing at my door crying, begging for another chance, that note was just 10 feet away, tucked in a drawer like a backup plan. I didn't scream, didn't smash anything. I just sat on the edge of the bed, holding the locket in one hand and feeling like the dumbest man alive. I'd made her soup when she was sick, massaged her feet on the night she came home exhausted. I'd apologized for things I didn't do just to end fights I didn't start. And she had the audacity to keep a love token from the man she claimed was a mistake? I called her, straight to voicemail. I texted, "Need to talk, urgent." She replied 10 minutes later, "What's wrong?" I didn't respond. Instead, I took a photo of the locket and sent it. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then came the text. "I was going to throw it away. I forgot it was in there. It means nothing." That's when I laughed, like full-on laughed in an empty room until my stomach hurt. Not because it was funny, but because it was so painfully predictable. It means nothing. Classic. Right up there with "I was drunk," and "it didn't mean anything." I didn't text back. I drove straight to her sister's, parked on the street, waited. She came out in a hoodie and slippers, hair up, surprised to see me. I rolled the window down and held up the pouch. "You forgot this." She took one look at it and froze. "I told you." "I don't want to hear it," I said, finally speaking louder than a whisper for the first time in days. "I want you to understand something. I'm not a storage unit for your guilt. You don't get to use me to feel clean again." She stepped back like I'd slapped her. "I'm sorry, Max. Please, let's just talk." "I already talked. Go be his problem, remember?" I drove away before she could answer. But later that night, she let herself into the house with a key I forgot to take. And what she did next, I still don't know if I'll ever recover from it. The sound that woke me up wasn't loud. It was the soft creak of the door. At first, I thought it was in my head. I'd been drifting in and out of sleep, exhausted from the emotional avalanche of the past few days. But then I heard it again, real close. The sound of careful footsteps trying not to be heard. That's when I realized I never changed the locks. I got out of bed too fast and stubbed my toe on the nightstand, but the pain jolted me fully awake. I crept out of the bedroom and into the hallway, phone in hand like a weapon, thumb hovering over 911. And then I saw her, standing in the kitchen, holding that same locket. She turned slowly, like she expected applause. "You weren't supposed to find it that way," she whispered. I didn't say anything. Couldn't. My brain was still catching up to the absurdity of the moment. Her breaking into the house in the middle of the night to, what? Retrieve evidence? I came back for it, to destroy it. I didn't want it to end like this. I leaned against the wall and crossed my arms. "You had the chance to end it differently. That passed about 3 betrayals ago." She took a shaky breath. "You don't understand. Gordon and I, it wasn't about love. It was about proving something to myself. I needed to know I wasn't boring, that I could still feel something." My voice cracked when I said,
So you burned down our marriage to check your pulse? She stepped closer, locket still in her hand, like it meant something, like it was part of her. I thought if I could erase him completely, maybe I'd deserve you again. That's when I realized something terrifying. She wasn't crying because she lost me. She was crying because she lost the version of me that forgave too easily, the one that absorbed her chaos and called it love, the one that smoothed over lies with quiet dinners and tired apologies. I changed the sheets. You don't belong here anymore. She looked stunned, like it had just hit her that the man standing in front of her wasn't hers anymore, that the switch had flipped and there was no more rewinding time with tears and sentimental stories. I walked past her, opened the door, and waited. She clutched the locket tighter and slowly walked out. No drama, no last-minute breakdown, just silence. She didn't even look back. I locked the door behind her, then I sat on the couch and waited for the weight to lift. But it didn't. Because the next day, I got a call. Not from her, from Gordon. He wanted to meet. And that meeting, what he told me, changed everything I thought I knew about my wife. We're not done yet.
I didn't even know Gordon had my number. I never gave it to him. So when I saw his name flash across my screen the next morning, my first instinct was to ignore it. But curiosity is a disease when your life's already spiraling. I picked up. His voice was as smug as I remembered from the one barbecue we'd all been at years ago. Hey man, I figured I owed you a conversation. I wanted to hang up, but I didn't. He said he wanted to meet, not to fight, not to provoke, just to talk. I agreed. And that night, we sat across from each other at some awful chain diner off the interstate, surrounded by the smell of burnt fries and broken dreams. Gordon looked like he'd crawled out of a music video from the early 2000s. Greasy hair, leather jacket, sunglasses indoors. I hated him instantly. But then he said something I didn't expect. She lied to both of us. I narrowed my eyes. What do you mean? She didn't come to me because she missed me. She came because she wanted to use me to make you react. I didn't respond, just stared at him. He leaned back, as if settling into a script he'd rehearsed. She cried the first night, said you made her feel invisible, said she wanted to feel wanted again. I thought she was genuine. I let her stay. Then she started asking weird questions, like how much I made, if I still had that inheritance from my uncle, if I could take her somewhere far away. I clenched my jaw. He went on. I told her I was broke. She didn't stick around after that, just up and left the next morning. No goodbye. But she forgot this. He pulled out a folded piece of paper and slid it across the table. It was a printed screenshot of a message from her. If Max sees us together, he'll crack. He's weak. He always folds. I felt something in me collapse. I had read novels where people described betrayal like a punch, but this felt more like drowning. Quiet, slow, no air left. She didn't want you back because she loved you. She wanted to win. That's it. I walked out of the diner without saying a word, drove home in silence, my mind replaying the message like a curse. When I got back, she was sitting on the porch like she had every right to be there. "Can we talk?" she said, standing up, brushing invisible dust off her jeans. I handed her the paper. Her face changed. First confusion, then fear, then that practice remorse I'd seen before. It's not what it looks like. But this time I didn't need an explanation. I changed the locks this morning. I said, "You won't be able to get in again." Her mouth opened, then closed, then laughed, bitter and sharp. You think you're strong now? You're still the same, pathetic and spineless. I smiled for the first time in weeks. Not anymore. And then I walked past her into the house and locked the door behind me. The final sound I heard was her pounding on the door over and over, as if noise could undo truth. But the final blow didn't come from her. It came the next day in the form of a letter from a lawyer. The envelope was thick, cream-colored, and had that heavy, formal texture you just know comes with bad news. It was sitting on the welcome mat like it had been dropped from the sky. I stared at it for a full minute before picking it up, half hoping it was something else, a bill, a summons, even a mistake. But the law film logo in the corner made my stomach churn. Inside was a single-page letter typed in the kind of language that drains every ounce of warmth from a sentence. It was from her lawyer, not mine, not a mediator, hers. She was demanding an official separation. Not a divorce, not yet. She wanted time to consider her options. That's what the letter said. Consider her options. Like I was a pair of shoes she wasn't sure she wanted to return just yet. But that wasn't even the part that made me feel like my chest was collapsing in on itself. She wanted temporary support from me. The same woman who snuck into my house after saying Gordon made her feel alive. The same woman who kept his locket in her drawer and used his number as bait. The same woman who only wanted to come back once her little vacation exploded in her face. Now she was demanding I pay her monthly support while she figured things out. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. Instead, I poured myself a cup of coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and read the letter again, line by line, word by word. I didn't miss a thing. She was asking for enough money to pay for rent, car payments, and, get this, emotional distress therapy. Therapy because I caused her distress. She even mentioned my erratic behavior. Her lawyer claimed I had become emotionally unstable and that she feared for my mental health. There was a paragraph about how I slammed a door in her face, which, by the way, was me locking my own front door. That night, I didn't sleep. I paced the house like it was haunted, every room echoing with some version of our past. I thought about the nights I held her while she cried over work stress, the mornings I brought her coffee in bed just because she looked tired, the years I thought I was building something real, only to realize I was just convenient until I wasn't. I called a lawyer the next day, a real one, mine. We met in person, I handed him the letter, and he scanned it with the calm of someone who's seen too many dumpster fires in human form. After a moment, he looked at me and asked a simple question. Do you want to play nice, or do you want to be done? I didn't even hesitate. I want to be done. He smiled, nodded, and said, Good. Then let's start gathering everything. Paper trails, messages, her little home invasion stunt. We'll use that too. He told me not to contact her directly again, that any communication should go through him from now on. I agreed. But life isn't that easy. Because 2 days later, she came back. Not to argue, not to fight. She came to confess. And what she told me on that front porch at dusk was something even Gordon didn't know. Something no one knew. It was just after sunset when she appeared at my door again. No call, no warning. She looked different this time. Not desperate, not angry, just hollow. Like the version of her that once knew how to manipulate people had burned out. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. She started speaking the moment I opened the door. There's something I never told you. Not Gordon, not anyone. I crossed my arms. She took a deep breath. Before I said that thing about feeling alive with him, I'd already planned to leave. I was gonna make you out to be the bad guy. I had screenshots saved, twisted messages, things you never said, taken out of context. I had a whole narrative prepared. I felt sick. But then you didn't yell. You didn't scream. You just told me to go. And that broke the script. I didn't know how to play that version of you. And suddenly, I realized I was the one who'd become everything I used to hate. She handed me something. Her house key. Slowly. Deliberately. "I'm not coming back," she said, voice shaking. "I don't deserve to." And then for the first time in months, I felt something I hadn't expected. Peace. Not joy, not victory, just peace. She walked away. No dramatics, no last words. Just quiet. The following weeks were a blur of legal meetings, paperwork, and nights spent alone that didn't hurt the way they used to. Every day, I rebuilt something. My routines, my confidence, my sense of self. I started painting again. I took weekend trips with no one to check in with. I even burned that awful locket in the fire pit. Watched the metal curl and vanish into ash. I thought I'd feel broken at the end of it, but instead, I felt lighter. I won't lie and say I'm healed. Healing isn't a switch. It's a process. But now I'm no longer walking in circles around someone else's chaos. I'm walking forward, slowly, surely, on my own terms. So if you're watching this, wondering whether it gets better after betrayal, let me tell you, it does. Not because they come back, but because eventually you don't want them to. What moment in this story shocked you the most? Have you ever been in a situation where walking away gave you back your peace? Share your story in the comments. We read every single one. And don't forget to subscribe to Reddit Confessions for more real, raw, and unforgettable stories.